The U.S. won't send some weapons pledged to Ukraine following a Pentagon review of military aid. The U.S. is halting some shipments of weapons to Ukraine amid concerns that its own stockpiles have declined too much, officials said Tuesday, a setback for the country as it tries to fend off escalating attacks from Russia. Certain munitions were previously promised to Ukraine under the Biden administration to aid its defenses during the more than 3-year-old war. The Pentagon review determined that stocks were too low on some weapons previously pledged, so pending shipments of some items won't be sent, according to a U.S. official who spoke on condition of anonymity to provide information that the Defense Department did not provide details on what specific weapons were being held back. Oh, that's bro. The Defense Department did not provide details on what specific weapons were being held back. Bro, there's no way. This is 100% cynical. Dude, if they were being serious, they'd be like, they would come up with some numbers and be like, our stockpile of this specific mortar is down to 30%. And we want it to be at least at 60% of this number and blah, 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 blah. No. The Defense Department, and also, look, all right, the U.S. is not worried about anybody coming to attack them. There's no serious, you could not make the national security argument for me on this one, all right? The U.S. has no serious concern of anybody coming in to attack them, even if the world knew we were low on some specific missile or some specific mortar or some specific piece of military equipment. The idea that they were going to be like, we were waiting for them to run out of this specific missile, let's go in and attack them. That's insanely stupid. And so, this is 100% cynical. The Defense Department did not provide details on what specific weapons were being held back. Makes me think that this is cynical, that this was their goal from the start, that they really just want to cut Ukraine funding. They want Russia to win. They want to cut Ukraine funding, and that they're going to find whatever sort of just weird justification they can to don't actually do the research or don't actually think about this long enough to support this and just be like, but don't you care about America first? Our stockpiles are going low. Don't you care about our stockpile? Shouldn't we care about our stockpile more than Ukraine? We're not here to fund Ukraine, blah, 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 blah. The halt of some weapons from the U.S. is a blow to Ukraine as Russia has recently launched some of its biggest aerial attacks of the war in an escalating bombing campaign that has further dashed hopes for a breakthrough in peace efforts championed by Trump. Talks between the sides have ground to a halt. Something that we need to keep in mind is that, large parts of this administration are on Russia's side. I did a story some months ago that an elected representative in the current federal Trump administration in the government had one of their American citizen sons go to Russia to try and fight against Ukraine and died doing so. That should show you, at least to some degree, that this administration is much more on Russia's side than they are on Ukraine's side. To date, the U.S. has provided Ukraine more than $66 billion worth of weapons and military assistance since Russia invaded its neighbor in February 2022. My understanding is that the vast majority, or at least a good chunk of that $66 billion worth of weapons and military assistance was basically our old stuff that we were giving them that we're going to get rid of anyways. Most of our equipment in the military, so say we have a specific tank or whatever, that tank has a life cycle. It's only maybe 20 years, and we have contracts with these companies, with these defense contractors that make these tanks saying, hey, every 20 years at this 20-year mark, we're going to renew and blah, 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 and we're going to replace all the tanks and do that sort of thing. A lot of the equipment that we sent to Ukraine was already at the very end or coming pretty close to the end of its life cycle, and we were going to already spend a bunch of money replacing it anyways. And when this stuff, the life cycle of this stuff ends, we typically don't sell it. We typically just destroy it and get rid of it, and it's just a waste of money. So you can almost see this as a net positive in some way, because a lot of this equipment that we're giving to them and we have given to them was just going to get thrown in the garbage pretty soon within the next few years anyways. So at least it's getting some use, and we're getting some value out of it by supporting one of our allies and also by countering one of our biggest enemies, Russia. Over the course of the war, the U.S. has routinely pressed for allies to provide air defense systems to Ukraine, but many are reluctant to give up the high-tech systems, particularly countries in Eastern Europe that also feel threatened by Russia. My understanding is that Europe has given Ukraine a ton of support in that, I might be way off on this, but I think their cumulative support of all the European countries together is still larger than the support we have given them, just from us. They do want to have the anti-missile systems, okay, as they call them, the Patriots, Trump said then. And we're going to see if we can make some available. We need them too. We're supplying them to Israel, and they're very effective. 100% effective. Hard to believe how effective. They do want that more than any other thing. Hegseth said a negotiated peace between Russia and Ukraine, which has been promoted for months by Trump, makes America look strong, even though Moscow is the aggressor in the conflict. He also said the defense budget includes hard choices and reflects the reality that Europe needs to step up more for the defense of its own continent, and President Trump deserves the credit for that. You can't ask for both. You can't have your cake and eat it too, right? You can't be like, those guys need to do more. Those guys need to do more. But also I need more credit. I need more credit. They need to do more, but then they also need to give me more credit. It's so stupid. The defense secretary told lawmakers last month that some U.S. security spending for Ukraine was still in the pipeline without providing details. But he said such assistance, which has been robust for the past 2 years, would be reduced. This administration takes a very different view of that conflict, Hegseth said. We believe that a negotiated peaceful settlement is the best interest for both parties and our nation's interests. Yeah, this is what I've been saying from the start. This administration wants Ukraine to just bend the knee. They want them to surrender. They want them to say, all right, Russia, take the land gains that you've gotten, and that will end this. The change comes after Hegseth skipped a meeting last month of an international group to coordinate military aid to Ukraine that the U.S. created 3 years ago. Hegseth's predecessor, Lloyd Austin, formed the group after Russia attacked Ukraine, and Hegseth's absence was the first time the U.S. Defense Secretary wasn't in attendance. So yeah, I think it seems like it is a good deal for us to continue supporting Russia. We get good value out of equipment we otherwise would have thrown away. We get the good PR and the potential future benefits of supporting an ally in this sort of way. We also get the benefits of countering economically and in other ways the Russian government, who has been somewhat hostile to the U.S. over the however many decades. From almost every angle I can think of, this seems a worthwhile investment and a good thing that we are there helping out the Ukrainians, and that therefore it would be a bad thing for us to, a really weird, dumb decision for us to stop supporting them. But it's clear, and this administration has been signaling well before they took office, that this is what they want. This is what they want, that they're more on Russia's side, that they want Ukraine to basically surrender, and that Trump wants the Nobel Peace Prize. That's what we can take away from all this.